Republicans in the state of Florida, in the city of Miami, have canceled this year's elections.
Welcome back to America First, Patriots. I'm your host, and before we dive into today's topic, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're fighting for truth and conservative values every single day, and we need your support to keep growing this movement. Today, I want to address a video that's been making the rounds about elections supposedly being canceled in Miami. The original creator is claiming that Republicans have somehow destroyed democracy by adjusting election timing in Miami-Dade County.
So the last time I was on vacation, about a week and a half ago, which, yes, I'm on vacation now. That's why things are weird. But anyway, I went on vacation and I did a Q&A. And one of the questions I got from a lot of different people was, will elections be canceled by Republicans in the future so they can just stay in power? And at the time I was like, no, I don't think it's going to happen. Probably, but I wasn't as sure of it as I was, say, a month ago. A month ago, I was dismissing the fears of everybody saying they're going to cancel elections. I thought, that's a little extreme. You guys are kind of going a little overboard. Let's not talk about them canceling elections because it's not going to happen. I was wrong. I could not have been more wrong. And this is one of the times when, man, I really wanted to be right, that of course Republicans aren't going to cancel elections. That's ridiculous. And they did. Republicans in the state of Florida, in the city of Miami, have canceled this year's elections. The city of Miami is supposed to be holding elections for numerous, city leaders, including mayor of Miami. But because the county commissioners is a majority Republicans, and because these government officials that are term limited and cannot run again are all Republicans, all of these Republicans got together and said, you know what? Let's just not do it. So the county commissioners of the city of Miami and the state of Florida voted to cancel this year's elections. The voters did not have a say, and the voters are pissed off. But because the Republicans are term limited and they knew, hey, we're out of here in November, they said, let's push it a year down the road. So they canceled the election scheduled for 2025 because they do hold off-year elections. And they said, let's do even-year elections so that it lines up, they said, with, the regular federal elections, because then if we do it, they claim, we're going to get higher turnout. Well, this is great. We're so smart. Let's pat ourselves on the back, right? We're going to have more people. And of course, that does mean that these Republicans get one more year in office and, they can keep doing the horrible things that Republicans do. But in the end, they tell us this is totally going to be for the best, right? It doesn't matter if it increases turnout. If you want to change the way that your city runs elections, that is a decision that is up to the voters. And you took that decision away from them. And that's part one of the story. So yes, there are now Republicans with power in this country that have canceled elections. So those fears, the fears that I dismissed, those fears are valid and accurate. It is no longer scaremongering. It is no longer a conspiracy theory. It is a real thing happening now. Second part. These Republicans who run that city, who made this decision, they understand something. And they understand that this is going to be challenged in court. That's the scary part. You've got a conservative judiciary down there in South Florida, all throughout the state of Florida. And then once it gets out of the state of Florida, where is it going to end up? The United States Supreme Court. So this move by these Republicans was not just to give themselves another year in office, folks. This was to get this up to the Supreme Court and get them to say that, yes, we do have the authority to cancel elections. Here you go. That's what this is about. It's not just about the local game. It's about getting it to that Supreme Court and getting them on your side and then doing it across the country. Thanks for
Let me break down what's actually happening here, because the mainstream narrative is missing some crucial context. First, let's get our facts straight. What happened in Miami isn't some sinister plot to cancel elections forever. The Miami-Dade County Commission made a decision to move their municipal elections from odd years to even years to align with federal and state elections. This is actually a common practice across the country, and there are legitimate reasons for it. The original video creator admits they were wrong about their initial assessment, but then doubles down on fear-mongering by suggesting this is part of some grand conspiracy to end elections nationwide. That's simply not what's happening here, and we need to look at this objectively. Municipal elections held in off years notoriously have extremely low turnout. We're talking about sometimes less than 10% of eligible voters participating. When you align local elections with federal elections, you typically see turnout increase dramatically because more people are already engaged in the political process. This isn't some Republican scheme. It's basic civic engagement strategy that both parties have used across the country for decades. The creator suggests that only voters should decide when elections are held, but that's not how our representative democracy works. We elect officials to make these kinds of administrative decisions on our behalf. That's literally why we have county commissioners, city councils, and state legislatures. If voters don't like these decisions, they can vote these officials out in the next election cycle. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. The original creator is trying to connect this local administrative decision to some broader conspiracy involving the Supreme Court. They're suggesting that Miami Republicans are intentionally trying to create a court case that will somehow give the Supreme Court authority to cancel elections nationwide. This is where the argument completely falls apart. The Supreme Court doesn't just randomly decide to hear cases because some local politicians want them to. There has to be a legitimate constitutional question at stake. Moving election dates to improve turnout and administrative efficiency isn't a constitutional crisis. It's normal governance that happens in municipalities across America every year. What's particularly frustrating about this narrative is how it undermines legitimate concerns about election integrity. When everything becomes a crisis, when every administrative decision is painted as the end of democracy, it makes it harder to address real issues that voters care about. We should be focused on ensuring our elections are secure, transparent, and accessible to all eligible voters. The term-limited officials the creator mentions aren't staying in power indefinitely. They're serving out their elected terms while new elections are scheduled. If there were a real constitutional crisis here, where would the lawsuits be? Where are the civil rights organizations filing injunctions? The reality is that this is standard municipal administration, not a constitutional coup. I also want to address the fear-mongering about conservative judges. The implication seems to be that conservative judges will rubber stamp any Republican power grab, which is both unfair and historically inaccurate. Conservative judges, including those on the Supreme Court, have ruled against Republican interests numerous times when the law requires it. Our judicial system, while not perfect, has institutional safeguards that prevent the kind of systematic election cancellation the original creator is worried about. Here's what patriots should actually be concerned about. We should be watching for real threats to election integrity like inadequate voter roll maintenance, lack of signature verification, ballot harvesting in states where it's not properly regulated, and insufficient poll monitoring. These are concrete issues that affect election outcomes, not administrative decisions about when to hold municipal elections. The original creator's journey from dismissing these fears to embracing them reveals something important about our political discourse today. Social media algorithms reward extreme content, and there's pressure to constantly escalate the stakes to maintain audience engagement. But governing requires nuance, compromise, and understanding that not every administrative decision is a constitutional crisis. If you're genuinely concerned about election integrity, here's what you can do. Get involved in your local elections. Volunteer as a poll watcher. Attend city council and county commission meetings. Run for office yourself. Real change happens at the local level through civic engagement, not through viral videos that mischaracterize routine municipal decisions. The strength of our republic comes from citizens who understand how government actually works and who participate in it constructively. When we let fear and conspiracy theories guide our political engagement, we weaken the very institutions we claim to want to protect. Miami voters will have their chance to vote for new leadership when the rescheduled elections take place. If they don't like the decision to move election dates, they can elect commissioners who will change the schedule back. That's how democracy works. It's messy, it's slow, and it doesn't always produce the outcomes we want immediately, but it's far more resilient than social media pundits give it credit for. Patriots, we need to be better than this. We need to demand accuracy in our political discourse and resist the temptation to turn every administrative decision into an existential threat. Our republic has survived actual constitutional crises, foreign invasions, civil war, and economic collapse. It can survive municipal election scheduling changes in Miami. That's all for today, Patriots. Remember to like this video and subscribe to America First. We'll keep bringing you the facts and the conservative perspective you won't get from mainstream media. Stay informed, stay engaged, and keep fighting for the values that make America great. Until next time, God bless America.